there, you're listening to the Estranged Heart podcast, and I'm your host, Creed Revere. Welcome back to our returning listeners, and if this is your first time here, thank you for selecting this podcast to listen to. As we begin today's episode, I invite you to grab a cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and listen with an open heart. But first, our regular disclaimer. I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. Nothing within this podcast should be considered or taken as therapy. If you are in need of therapeutic support such as counseling, please seek out a therapist near you. A couple of announcements and reminders before we dive into today's episode. Excuse me, the month of May will have bi-weekly episodes highlighting a story from an estranged mom. And these stories could be from just moms who've reached out to share their stories with me, come from coaching clients that I work with, and potentially moms from the support group that I facilitate as well. May is a difficult month in general for estranged moms. I mean, with Mother's Day, it's just a highly triggering several weeks. The several weeks leading up to Mother's Day, and then Mother's Day, and then the week or so after that is really triggering. And I just wanted to be able to give a voice to estranged moms during this month. There will be a time later in the year where I will hopefully be sharing the stories from estranged adult children. So, but this month it's about the moms, and I encourage you, as you listen to each episode and hear each story, to not only reflect on maybe the differences between that particular story and yours, but also on the connecting threads that each story seems to have, because there's a thread that runs in every estrangement story, and especially the stories of estranged adult children and their parents and or a mom. So that's going to happen, and to also highlight this month as well that I do facilitate an online support group for estranged moms only. And I will say that this group is quite different, seems to be quite different. I'm hearing that it's very different than a lot of the other support groups that are out there online, specifically. And I think that part of that is because, as with this podcast, my goal is to not only to recognize the hurts and pains of estranged parents and estranged adult children, but it's also to help to shift things, to help heal things, and begin to move forward, so that we're not stuck in the sadness, the pain, the suffering. I want my focus is to acknowledge those things, but then to figure out a way to move forward with our lives. And so that's what I do in my group. And if you're interested in that, kind of support, I encourage you to reach out and seek us out. It's at facebook.com/estranged mothers support group. And yeah, we would love to have you join us in the group. And as a final reminder, that if you would like to continue to support this podcast and the work that I do with estranged parents and estranged adult children, I encourage you to consider a financial donation, which will allow me to free up some time to be able to do more work hands-on with clients directly. And I'll leave information on how to do that in the show notes. So today's episode is going to be shorter, brief, compared to other episodes, because I just want to highlight what's coming this month and a little bit of a focus on the upcoming Mother's Day, and I just want to kind of hone in on some things. So I have just one quote today, and it's something that I've kind of tweaked and taken from other people who talk about estrangement, and made and added some things, took away some things that and made it my own. And I hope that if you are an estranged mom, that I'm sure you will resonate with this. And that quote is, "We need to create more shame-free places for estranged moms to heal if we're ever to break the cycle of estrangement and therefore intergenerational trauma." So with that being said, I would like to invite you to consider a couple of different things in light of estrangement. And I know that each mom is at a different place with her estrangement experience. This may be really fresh and new to you, or this could be something that has been ongoing for you for years, if not decades. And so I ask that you keep that in mind as you're listening to today's episode and some of the things that I'll be sharing and some of the invitations, and to know that if you're not in a place where you're ready to hear some of these things, that's okay. There was a time when I wasn't ready, and I needed time to be able to spew my hurts and pains, and then figure out a way forward. So these things are not meant to cause any sort of a term that I hear often is, victim shaming and things along those lines. That's not what any of this is about. I'm asking that if you're not ready to hear it, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. But there are those that are ready to hear this, and I ask that they give it consideration. So what if estrangement could serve a purpose? What if the pain and the suffering that comes with estrangement, what if it could serve a purpose instead of simply being something that is inflicting pain upon someone? And I think that was my turning point, right? That was when, I went through my estrangement experience, came to the time when I was like, I just cannot take this anymore. I have to figure out a way around this, over it, under it, through it, whatever the case may be, but I cannot continue to stay stuck here. And when I started digging into that in therapy, digging into my own history, and was able to look at the baggage and things that I had and issues that I had not dealt with regarding my own childhood and dealing with my own reactions and my own triggers. When I started to deal with all of that, my view on estrangement started to change. And that started to change before I reconciled with my children. So I used that as an opportunity to figure out kind of like the birthing process, right? The pregnancy and birthing process. It's hard, for many people who are pregnant. It's hard. It's difficult. It's exhausting. It's painful. It's challenging. There's happy parts of it. There's exciting parts of it. There's anxiety parts of it. But all of that is wrapped up within that one experience of pregnancy and then following suit with birth. And just because it's painful doesn't mean that pain doesn't serve a purpose. The pain that a woman goes through in giving birth is to help birth a human being. There's the purpose in the physical body, the things that are happening for a reason in being able to get the baby out of the womb, right? And so that's generally a time in our lives when we look at pain and go, oh yeah, it was so totally worth it, right? That we get this gift in the end. And then we're left challenged with all of the other challenges that come in our life, and we tend to look at them as something that's just destructive, and it serves no purpose, and there's no place in it, and those types of things. So as we're coming up on Mother's Day, and this time of immense pain and suffering that moms can experience due to the hyper level of, in your face all the time, everywhere you go, with reminders of Mother's Day, I'm asking you to consider how we could change the lens, change the perspective, make the turn, just a quarter turn, to turn this into something that has the potential to not only change the estrangement and hopefully bring us to reconciliation, but to change ourselves. And then to have that ripple out effect to all of our other relationships, and then therefore those relationships are affected, and then their relationships are affected, and it's just this big ripple effect, right? And to use the pain and suffering to fuel momentum and movement forward into healing. So I'm extending that invitation, right? And you may not be able to do it now. You may not be able to do it in the month of May. You may not be able, and that's okay. But I'm at such a time in an estranged mom's life where the pain is right at the surface, right? Other times during the year, we can shove it down and pretend that it's not there, and tend to go on with our day-to-day life in a way that it's not front and center. I'm asking you to consider taking this pain that is so at the surface right now and so just prevalent and just permeating everything in your life. I'm asking you, how can we utilize that as fuel to begin your healing process? Okay? That being said, I want to acknowledge that this is a painful time for you. I distinctly remember and will never forget my first Mother's Day as an estranged mom. It was heart-wrenching. Absolutely heart-wrenching. And I didn't know how to celebrate my mom while I was in immense pain, not having my girls in my life. It was really, really difficult. I wanted to scream. I was angry. I was so unbelievably angry. And at the same time, I was this little girl who was just so filled with hurt and pain. And so I'm telling you that I remember that. I'm 5 years having reconciled, and it still brings up tears. It still brings up, I just can send myself right back to those feelings in that day when it feels like the rest of the world is going on without you, and that you've been absolutely excluded from anything and everything that's joyful and loving and those types of things. Or you're a parent, you're a mom who has children that you're not estranged from, and you're having to walk both sides of the fence, right? You're having to show joy and excitement to be with your children who are not estranged from you, and yet there's this gaping hole that still remains because there's a child or children who are not present. So I get that pain. I understand the hole that's in your heart. And I'm not asking you to fill that hole with something, some arbitrary something. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I think it's important to take some time for yourself at this time of year. Get away from the commercialization of Mother's Day, where you can focus on yourself, do some self-care, think about you, do things you enjoy, and try to limit your time around other people who are not as understanding and compassionate to your circumstances. Right? If you have people that you can be around that are healthy for you and can help, hold you up during this time, then by all means, seek those folks out. But if you're anything like I was, and you didn't have anybody really to be with you during this time, I really suggest, getting out and walking in nature, getting away from the commercialization. Turn the TV off, turn the radio off, listen to, just if you want to listen to music, make sure it's, something with no commercials, and things and upbeat for you. If you enjoy listening to podcasts, listen to something, that's totally unrelated to Mother's Day, right? Or relationships or whatever, that type of thing. Enjoy things that bring joy to you and happiness to you. And another good way, sometimes, depending where you are at in your estrangement journey, if it's a little less triggering for you, sometimes maybe, being of service and giving to others, helping out a, homeless shelter or somewhere where you can help serve others. It takes our mind off of our own struggles, and we can help give to others. So those are my suggestions. If you are listening to this podcast, you're not an estranged parent or mom, and you know of someone who is, I encourage you to reach out to that person on and around Mother's Day. Let them know they're being thought about. Ask them if they want to talk about it, and then listen if they do. Right? Listen with compassion, no judgment, and maybe do things for them, go with them, pick up takeout and go over to their house and watch a movie, or binge on Netflix for the day with them, or something along those lines, where they can feel a little less alone. And remember, this is a loss, right? Estranged moms are missing out on milestones. They're missing out on things in life that, other parents and grandparents are being able to experience. And so this is a loss. It's an ongoing and seemingly unending, and something that is unknown to them, right? When in death, we know generally why someone is taken, right? Why someone leaves our lives, through an illness or what have you. There's that bit of closure. In estrangement, there is no closure. And it's just this open, unending thing that is happening in their life, and they're missing out on things and times and experiences that can never be repeated again. And that's hard. And they're also missing their child. If they have other children that are not estranged, they're still living life with one child present with them, in fear potentially of losing that child, and still missing the estranged child. So there's lots of emotions, lots and lots and lots of emotions going on at this time of year. So, one thing that I suggest to estranged moms is to try to focus on the things that you did well as a parent, right? The things that you think you did well as a parent. And one of the things that I encourage my coaching clients to do is to find a glass jar, right? And then take different multicolored scraps of paper and write down all the things that they did, one thing on each piece of paper that they did that they felt was really good as a parent, as their children were growing up, or even after they were grown up, after they turned 18. Things that you think you've done really well, and fold those up and put them in the glass jar. And as that glass jar begins to fill with all these multicolored, different colored pieces of paper, it's a visual reminder to you. If you set it up on a shelf prominent in your home, it's a visual reminder to you of the things that you did well. And I think it's important to focus on that as well. So I think it's important that you try to give yourself some grace at this time of year, right? Understand that emotions are going to ebb and flow. One day you might be fine, tomorrow you may not be, and that's okay. One day at a time, one baby step at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. That's okay. You will get through this. There will come a day when it's no longer Mother's Day, and you can feel like you can breathe again. Okay. So for any estranged mom who is seeking support through your estrangement experience, you want to move forward and perhaps you don't know how. You don't know how that's possible, but you know that whatever you're doing right now is not working for you and you're looking for something different, something better, how to heal your life and move on. Please feel free to reach out to me. I offer coaching services that can help get you focused in a different way, help you to process some of the emotions that you're having around your estrangement, and just in general be a place that is safe for you to process what estrangement means in your life. And if you're interested in that type of service, please feel free to email me. My email address is theestrangedheart@gmail.com. Again, theestrangedheart@gmail.com. And yeah, I'm happy and always honored to support estranged moms and estranged adult children when they reach out and request coaching services. I'm just always honored, and it's just amazing to watch the transformation happen with my clients, and watching them progress and get to places where they feel healthier, and for many, are looking at reconciliation. So yeah, I'd be honored to be able to be of support for you. So this brings this episode to a close. I hope that this time together was time you feel well spent, and that you were able to find some takeaway nuggets to help you on your journey, wherever you may be on your estrangement and reconciliation path. If you feel you've received something helpful or positive from this podcast, please consider following us, sharing this podcast with others, and leaving us a positive review. You can follow us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under the same name, The Estranged Heart. And again, a reminder of the online support group that I facilitate. You can find us there and this is for estranged moms, at facebook.com/estranged mothers support group. And lastly, if you are an estranged mom and would like to have your story shared on the podcast, please reach out, and you can do so by sending me an email. And again, my email address is theestrangedheart@gmail.com. Take care of yourself, Mama. Until next time.